Welcome to this week's edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Ken Campbell. Usually, I introduce myself as the sidekick, Dylan Waugh, but today, because my voice is so bad, it has to be done. Ken, today you're Robin. I'm Batman.
All right.
We're going to be talking about the Stanley Cup Finals, and of course, the biggest news that anybody could ever have. A hockey player cheated on his girlfriend.
Maybe.
Allegedly. Ken, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing all right. I was doing okay until like just before the broadcast when I thought you were going to hawk a loogie. Like you just went, and then I was half expecting to hear.
Oh, I wasn't going to hawk it towards you. Yeah.
Dylan's a little under the weather.
Well, I feel fine now. I started getting sick. Like
it's not COVID, right? Like I'm not sitting beside someone who has the cooties, right?
I doubt it.
I hope not, because I've actually been able to avoid it.
I'm out of tests though.
Oh, are you? Okay,
Yeah.
I got a bunch of them. You gave me one
I gave
one
you
time.
one, yeah.
I got a whole bunch of them at home. Well, you can have one later. Anyways,
After I've infected you.
yeah, no, I've managed to avoid it so far.
It doesn't feel like COVID because...
And now I'm feeling like this is like going to be my badge of honor. This is going to be like, yeah, back in 2020 to 22, you know, everybody got COVID, but I didn't.
That's if we all make it any longer than 2022. No, I don't think it's anything. Like it literally was just a sore throat, then a runny nose, then a runny nose and a sore throat, and then I actually don't have a sore throat right now. I don't feel it at all, but I hear my voice through the microphone and I go, holy smokes, who's that gravelly voiced little devil?
Yeah.
So
cool story, bro.
yeah, well, I thought that, you know, we strive here at Hockey Unfiltered to give the listener the greatest audio experience, and, you know, my voice is doing something less than that right now.
No, it's actually pretty good. Like you've got like the like you say, you've got the sort of mysterious kind of gravelly thing going.
My
I don't even know
really
whose
low
voice.
when I lose my voice. Like,
Oh yeah,
really low.
Does it?
Yeah.
That'd be too bad. Too bad you couldn't have it all the time, because then you could be like a FM radio DJ or something on Q107.
It's the only time that because you're mine, I walk the line. So now, speaking of walking the line,
Correct.
speaking of walking the line, Cale Makar. I've heard the best.
Who walks the line?
The
like
best
no one else?
nickname I've heard for him is that he should be called Cash because he walks the line better than anybody else.
Nice. Well
I
done.
feel like that nickname is pure money.
He should be called Caillou.
Pure money.
Oh, pure money. Not
Yeah,
bad.
Cash,
Yeah.
He should be called Caillou because he looks like a
Because he
4-year-old.
looks like he's 8.
Caillou's 4. He's famously 4.
And he plays like he's...
I'm just a kid who's 4. Famously a 4-year-old.
Yeah, but he plays like he's 30. He is, and I mean, I tweeted this out last week during the Western Conference Final. Was that last week, or have they been off more than a week by now?
I think that was last week.
Anyways, he is.
It was last week that we were doing the post-mortem of the Western Conference Final on Wednesday.
So it's been more than a week.
And then the week before that, we were talking about what an amazing Western Conference Final it's going to be with Adrian Dater and Mark Spector.
So we actually have done a podcast since then. But I tweeted out that Cale Makar is a elite NHL goal scorer. Not an elite NHL goal scoring defenseman.
Yeah.
He's an elite NHL goal scorer. I could see him one day like nudging like a 50 goal season.
Yeah, I mean, you've been saying that literally, not figuratively, since our first episode.
Every episode?
You have not literally said it every episode, but you've literally said that.
Okay, so maybe I should
in our
stop.
first episode.
Oh, I did. Oh, okay.
Yeah, no. In our very first episode, we're now episode 26. Isn't that weird?
That is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In our first episode, we talked about like our biggest, what we love to see most in the NHL. And I said Trevor Zegras, or who's our must-watch player or something like that.
Right,
and you
right.
said Cale Makar.
Right.
And you said the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Episode 1. So it is funny because the world is starting to take notice of that.
Yeah. I wonder how, well, I mean, we're going to talk about this, but The way Tampa's collapsing in front of their net and the way everybody from Steven Stamkos to Ross Colton are blocking shots.
Yeah.
Be interesting to see how he adjusts to that. And I think he will because he's so good.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see how he adjusts to that and see how many shots he gets through on Vasilevsky.
Yeah, I mean, that was the big thing with Brent Burns.
Right.
Was not that he was letting out the hardest shots in the world, the biggest clap bombs, but rather that he was able to get his shot through on a very consistent basis.
Well, to me, Chris Pronger was the guy who was the poster child for that.
Right.
Like just low, hard, and
I weirdly think of other things when I hear Chris Pronger.
Yeah, I would too. No, but I think he was like almost a pioneer in that, because like that was when he was at the height of his talent. That was when teams started doing what they're doing. Like,
yeah,
just everybody fall down in front of the net.
Yeah.
You know, get in front of the puck. And I always remember just marveling at how he was able to keep it low and on net. And I always used to love that. And I used to love how Nick Lidstrom in Detroit, particularly in Detroit, in the old Joe Louis Arena, where they played before, the boards were so lively there that you'd see it all the time. Lidstrom would shoot the puck in and he'd miss the net on purpose, and it would come right back out in front for a scoring chance, like almost every time. And he had, obviously it was his home rink. He probably worked on it, 20 minutes a day in practice.
Yeah.
But he had every angle, every kind of nuance of those boards figured out.
Yeah.
And he knew exactly where to put it. And it would be like, oh, he missed the net. No, he didn't miss the net. He missed the net on purpose.
Yeah. Like a good pool player.
Right.
Testing the rebounds of all the different sides and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny, I do a drill like that with my goalies. Where I take a low...
Where you let every puck in?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, here's how you scoop it out of the net, kids. Okay, here's how you take a drink of water after you got scored on.
It's not like
turn
this.
around.
You
You
spray
turn
it
around.
in the air first.
Yeah, you turn around and then you fire it down the ice because you got to pretend you're pissed off at your teammates when really it was your fault. Is that what you teach them?
Yeah, obviously, but I'm talking about the other stuff that I teach them, the more pertinent stuff. You're a good sport, Dylan. You're a good sport. Never been called that before. No, I take a slap shot wide of the net and try to have it bounce off the boards in front of the net.
Right.
And of course it bounces erratically.
Of course.
And so the goalie has to read it, follow it going into the boards and then read how it comes out in front of the net in order to stop it. And then I pick it up and fling it towards the net.
Do you think that hockey sense is a quantifiable quality that you can measure in a goalie? Because I think it's really important. I think hockey sense for a goalie is really, really important.
Yes. So there was this one drill that I was doing with these two goalies where it was like pass, shot.
Right.
Right. And what I said to the goalie was, the goalie was always chasing the puck and then sliding into the shot. Mm-hmm. Carey Price is famously set before the shot, right? That's his calling card. Oh, he's lazy, just dropped the butterfly. Yeah, he was there. He was playing chess when everybody else is playing chess.
Yeah, you know what? Ed Belfour was like that too. Ed Belfour was like that. Yeah. Ed Belfour was one of the best positional goalies I've ever seen.
Yeah,
ever.
Completely agree with you.
Yeah.
So, I said to this goalie, I said, look, in a game situation, you know that you have deflections, you have missed passes, you might misread the pass or whatever. In this situation, every variable. Mm-hmm. There's only one variable, right? I want you to start getting comfortable with getting ahead of that puck. And then we'll get you comfortable with adjusting to variables, right? So you're right. But one goalie that I had in particular could never get himself ahead of that pass.
Right.
It didn't compute to him that as soon as that puck got released off the stick, where's it going? And I've got to get there.
Right.
Because for a goalie, you only got to move 5 feet. The puck's got to move 35 feet. So in theory, you should be able to move faster than the puck as a goaltender with the way that the angles are. So it is something that you can teach, but not everybody.
Yeah.
There are people that they just won't get it.
I mean, but you can do it because there's tracking, right? Like
Right.
anybody can track a puck. You could be the biggest dummy in the world and you can still go, okay, the puck's there, the puck's going here,
Right.
the puck's there, right?
Yeah.
So I would think to a certain extent you can,
Yeah.
but interesting.
And so, but this I think is where you're driving at, which is the goaltending disparity in this series.
That's what I'm driving at. Yeah.
The Tampa Bay Lightning versus the Colorado Avalanche. As much as I love to talk about goalie drills until, we're all blue in the face.
I wouldn't like that very much. I would find that very, very boring. And
Speaking
I think
of which,
most people...
Ken and I did not coordinate shirts today.
No.
We didn't say, I'm putting on my blue shirt. You putting on your blue shirt?
My blue shirt is a little slightly less navy than yours.
Oh, well, there you go.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the goaltending disparity, so this is why I say that it's teachable to an extent is because, when you see a goalie that doesn't quite have that ability in the NHL, my assumption is not that his goalie coach was never able to recognize that and never tried to reconcile that or rectify that.
Yeah.
Right? Which sometimes, people are like, the goalie coach must be a moron. He didn't. It's like, no, he probably saw it. If you saw it, he probably saw it, right?
Yeah.
And Darcy Kemper does not impress.
He doesn't have to though. like I said,
he hasn't had to.
He hasn't had to. That's right.
To this point.
I've said, I mean, Colorado gets good goaltending.
Right.
They get decent goaltending from.
It's below league average,
and it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter if it's Pavel Francouz or Darcy Kemper. Like, to me, at this point in the playoffs, it really doesn't matter which one of those guys starts.
I'd be taking Francouz.
Yeah, maybe they're essentially interchangeable, right? At the other end of the ice, you've got, if not the best goalie in the world, the goalie who just beat the best goalie in the world.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a huge disparity, huge disparity, and it's one of about 5 or 6 reasons why I'm actually picking Tampa to win this series.
I'm picking Tampa too.
Are you?
Yeah. I'm picking
That's
Tampa
boring.
too. I know it's boring, but and that's
I've crushed you on the playoff thing, and like we'll
do the final accounting.
Yeah, we've come to that conclusion that I've basically
you've killed me.
I crushed you into
fine
dust.
Yes.
Okay. Good.
I agree with you there.
So you should pick Colorado just to try and get that old college try to
All
get
right,
it back.
Colorado at 100% with times 8 if they win. Because it doubles every round.
No,
right?
it doesn't. It
Yes,
went
it does.
It went once, doubled 3 times, 4 times.
No.
What we're doing. Oh, did it?
You don't
Anyways.
understand math.
Okay.
So
Math
you
is
have
hard.
half the teams double the points.
Okay.
Half the teams again in the next round, double the points again in the next round.
Okay.
So there's just the same amount of points on the
Same
table
number of points, yeah.
in each round.
Okay.
There. You correct my grammar, I'll correct your math.
Okay.
So I agree with you. But here's the thing that I would say about Pavel Francouz. Here's what I'd say. Honestly, because we're talking about him versus Darcy Kemper and how Darcy Kemper really hasn't not impressed in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. I think about Antti Raanta and Fredrik Anderson and your joke about how Anderson being injured going into the playoffs might have been the best thing that happened to the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yep.
We might be looking at the same thing here.
We might be. I think the reality of it is if goaltending becomes a big factor in this series, I see no path to victory for Colorado.
But why wouldn't it become a big factor in this series? When you look at the offensive horses that both teams have.
Yeah.
It just seems like... Okay, caveat being that Colorado managed to effectively shut down Connor McDavid. Well, I mean, slow down Connor McDavid.
Yeah, it didn't shut him down at all.
Yeah.
Because he didn't. They didn't shut him and Leon Draisaitl down. It came down to the Stars canceling out, and then the depth players being the difference makers in that series.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to be the same this time around.
Yeah.
I do know that Tampa is more comfortable playing in low-scoring, low-event games than any team that I've seen in years. In fact, I think they prefer it now. Like it's weird because they used to be like the team that wanted to beat you 8-3.
Yeah.
Now they want to beat you 1-0.
Yeah.
Or 2-1. And to me, as far as I'm concerned, if Tampa goes into the third period with a lead, like a 1-0 lead or a 2-0 lead, just move on to the next game.
I was shocked.
Move on to the next game because they give you nothing.
I was shocked that Panarin got a goal against Tampa in the last game.
Hey, pop quiz. In the final 4 games of the Tampa-New York series, how many even strength goals did the New York Rangers get?
Oh, very, very little because Tampa shut down Nico Zibanejad.
One even strength goal in 4 games.
Right. And the Panarin goal was a power play goal. But even with it being a power play goal, I was very surprised that he scored it.
Yeah. And you know who scored it? Ryan Lindgren. When Ryan Lindgren is your leading 5-on-5 guy, you are in a bit of trouble.
You're in a bit of trouble. Yeah. Well, I mean, I used to joke with that when the Montreal Canadiens got eliminated by the New York Rangers and then didn't make the playoffs for the next 4 years. Every year, I'd say, you know who the last guy to score a playoff goal for the Montreal Canadiens was? Alexei Evelyn.
Wow. You know what's weird? Who the last guy was to score 100 points for the Montreal Canadiens?
Jean Beliveau?
Mats Naslund.
Oh, really?
Mats Naslund. In 85-86, the year they won the cup.
Yeah.
You think of Montreal as being this, like, having all these star-studded, they've only had like 4 guys score 100 points in their history.
So I was thinking about that, the biases that you develop from young indoctrination and the way that it translates later in life. Yeah. My dad always hated Led Zeppelin. He said it was too heavy. So it was too hardcore, too hard rock, too heavy. My dad was a lot older than you, bear in mind, right?
I hope so.
No, I'm just saying, like, so he's like, the Rolling Stones generation. He's in his like mid-20s when Zeppelin starts coming out. And so he's starting to get to that age where he's going like, I don't want new stuff. But later on in his life, he got into the Dandy Warhols, which is kind of like a pop punk hard rock band, right? Yeah. And, as one of his younger friends said, hey, check out these guys. And he loved them. And he bought their CDs and listened to them in the car all the time and all the rest of it, right? But the thing was that he still held on to this thing that he didn't like Led Zeppelin because that was too hard rock. And so I was thinking about that. So we all grew up with the Montreal Canadiens being this storied franchise with all this skill and all this talent and all this whatever.
You didn't grow up with that.
Heck yes, I did. I absolutely did.
But you didn't see it in person. You just grew up with the lore.
Right. Yeah. And so what I'm saying is that growing up with that lore, it's funny how it's so hard to break that narrative, that idea in our minds. But
multiply that by 1,000 for Leaf fans.
Right.
Like some people who have never seen them win the cup and,
or around.
And I mean, all they do is play on their tradition and history, which has sucked. Yeah. Basically for the last 50 years.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
A buddy of mine, actually a friend of mine, came to Canada from England in 1967, the winter of 1967.
Right.
And he watched the Leafs win the Stanley Cup, and that was like, he was like, oh, this is really cool. And people were like, oh, that happens. That happens
all the time.
Happens quite a bit because they won 62, 63, 64. Then Montreal won 65, 66, and the Leafs won in 67. So, like, in the space of 6 years, they won 4 times, right?
Right, yeah.
So people were like, oh, yeah, that happens. Yeah, that happens pretty regularly.
Yeah.
Not.
No such luck. Yeah. So let's get a little bit more formalized looking at these at these teams. Yep. So you've got the Colorado Avalanche. Okay. What would you say the styles of teams that they've played so far have been? So in the previous series, they played Edmonton, for example. How does Edmonton score their goals?
Off the rush and, skill, based on skill and power play.
Not a lot of cycling, though, but mostly, mostly off the rush, mostly trying to catch turnovers and stuff like that, right? Before the Edmonton Oilers, they played the St. Louis Blues. How does the St. Louis Blues score their goals?
They're a heavier down low team.
Yeah, they're a heavier grinding team, but you could almost argue that they're not very offensively minded, and so
they're not. No, and they weren't based on speed, and they weren't. There was not a lot of speed in that game. There was
kind of like asking how the New York Islanders score their goals. It's I don't know, but they find a way once in a while. They seem to pot them now and again.
Yeah,
and then before that, They played Nashville, right? Do we need to talk about Nashville?
No, really.
They just shouldn't have been there, right?
Yeah.
And all due respect to Nashville, but they shouldn't. But
all due respect to Nashville, but they shouldn't have been there. That's not all due respect to Nashville.
I feel like that's more than they were due. There's more due respect to Nashville, if anything.
Okay.
So now you have them going against the Tampa Bay Lightning. They have not faced a team like the Tampa Bay Lightning that cycles, but without that kind of heavy pressure, grinded out down low St. Louis style. They cycle with skill.
Yep.
A lot of skill teams are going to rushing these days, right? When you look at the New York Rangers, for example, right? So, like, what I want to hear from you is, with all this preamble in mind, like, what are the 3 or 4 or 5, whatever number you want to arbitrarily pull out of your hat? Yes.
Pull out of your hat, not your...
I picked the mental image that I could live with.
Right, okay.
And it was you wearing a hat.
Okay, good.
So what are the few keys that Colorado will have to do in order to beat the Tampa Bay Lightning? And the reason why I go with the offense of the other teams is because I'm more curious about defensively. How is a team like this going to defend against the Tampa Bay Lightning?
Well, they've been very good defensively. They're not a bad defensive team.
They have, but they haven't faced an offense.
No, they gave up one fewer goal than Tampa Bay did in the regular season. Right. So, and they were, like, I think, the 7th best defensive team in the league.
Right.
So they're okay there. They're fine there. But part of that, a big part of that, is you suppress shots by not letting the other team have the puck. Right. And that, to me, is where Colorado is going to have to really impose their style of play on the series. They've got to keep control of the puck. They've got to manage the puck.
So they've got no choice.
If they don't manage the puck well, they're in big trouble. And they've got to keep it off of the sticks of Steven Stamkos and Nikita Kucherov and Victor Hedman and Braden Point if he plays and that sort of thing. So to me, it will be because they have done a good job of managing the puck and hanging on to the puck.
That's like sort of my thought, which is like, if you let Nikita Kucherov get the puck in the offensive zone with the slightest amount of time or space.
Yeah.
I don't see how we haven't seen them able to collapse and protect the box as well as we've seen other teams do it.
But I also don't think that Colorado is the kind of team that, we've seen teams that have given Tampa Bay way too much respect. I would expect that
they're going to be aggressive and attack.
Yeah. And they'll close the gap more.
Yeah.
Right? So presumably you're thinking Nikita Kucherov's, he may get the puck in the offensive zone, but he's going to look up and somebody's going to be in his face.
Right.
Right? Because they have defensemen who can skate,
Pardon me. Last week it was your phone that went off. This week it's mine.
Oh, okay. What was that? It sounded like somebody scraping their nails on a blackboard. Anyways.
That was Admiral Akbar from Star Wars Return of the Jedi saying, "It's a trap."
Great. Anyways, I think that Colorado has the defensemen who can skate.
Yeah.
And they have defensemen who can support those who skate.
Yeah.
So I really see them stepping up in the neutral zone and probably closing that gap a lot better than a lot of other teams did that maybe had a lot more respect for Tampa and kind of just, okay, well, let's just wait until the last possible second and figure it out then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas Colorado, I think, will be far more aggressive and far more focused on pursuing the puck.
Yeah.
And it's all about the little black thing for Colorado, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
They got to control it. They got to keep it on their sticks, and they got to keep it off of Tampa's sticks. And that will be their best way of defending.
I mean, the Colorado Avalanche, what was so prevalent in the Edmonton series was the fact that every single zone entry They got angled off. Not every single one, obviously, because Edmonton did score. But almost every single zone entry, somebody angled off whoever was creating the zone entry, whether it was Connor McDavid. This is usually Connor McDavid, to be honest. Bowen Byram did an excellent job of it. Cale Makar did an excellent job of it. And angling these guys off, forcing them into the corners where they couldn't do any damage, and then stripping the puck and turning it the other way. So that's what we saw against the Edmonton Oilers. The difference is that if you force Nikita Kucherov in the corners, he can do damage.
Yeah.
You basically just escorted him to his office.
Right. And what are his options once he gets there? Stamkos and Palat.
Right.
I mean, those are pretty good options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
So that's what I find interesting about this. Now, conversely, the Tampa Bay Lightning have faced teams that are better in terms of neutral zone defense.
Mm-hmm.
They faced the New York Rangers last. Before the New York Rangers, they faced the Florida Panthers, right?
And the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, the Toronto Maple Leafs, that would be the team that I'd say is the best off the rush defense, especially with a guy like Mark Giordano. Right.
So it's an interesting conundrum. Now, so you think that, and I agree with you, that the Colorado Avalanche, they really need to focus on puck management. They cannot turn the puck over.
Right.
And if they get themselves in trouble in their own zone, they're going to have to be aggressive. Which of course runs sort of contrary to popular opinion, which is that you're going to pull your defenseman out of position if you're too aggressive in your own zone.
Right.
But I agree with you that in a situation like that against the Tampa Bay Lightning, you really relinquish the choice, right? Because Tampa Bay has just completely picked apart defenses like the Florida Panthers, where they had excellent kind of protect the box style defense.
Right. I don't think either team has faced a team like they're going to face now. You know what I mean? I mean, as good as Florida was during the regular season and Toronto was during the regular season, Tampa hasn't faced a team like Colorado.
No.
That is this deep, this good,
Yeah.
this fast, this skilled, this talented.
Yeah.
They haven't faced any of that. So well, you know what? I'm tired of saying, oh, this is going to be a great series, because we said that about a bunch of series before.
This series is going to suck.
And they turned out to be not as great as we thought they would be.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting because, I think Tampa, or I think even though Tampa can play the game any way you want, it seems, I really think that Colorado's going to have to really take advantage of the fact that they've played fewer games. They've got more rest. They got to really push the pace, push. And I would not be reticent, if I were the Colorado Avalanche, to turn this into a track meet. I think if you play it safe and you do all those things I think you're playing right into Tampa's hands.
Yeah.
I think you're playing right into Tampa's hands because, like I said, there's no team that I've seen in the last 10 years, save maybe the Chicago Blackhawks when they were in their prime.
Yeah.
That's more comfortable playing a low event, low scoring game than the Tampa Bay Lightning. I really think you got to go into the belly of the beast here with Tampa. You got to push it. You've got to push the pace. You've got to push the agenda. You've got to keep it fast. You've got to keep it on your stick. And I think that gives you a chance against this team, because if you just drop back and you want to play that, Tampa will stand there and say, we'll play that game all day and all night.
Right.
We got the best. Remember, we got the best goalie in the world back here.
That was the next point.
Right? We got the best goalie in the world back here.
Yeah.
So, you want to generate only 24 shots a game?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah.
He'll stop 23 of them. Maybe all 24.
Right.
Yeah. So, all right, hockey fans, the pursuit for the Stanley Cup is on, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, has an unbelievable offer for the most exciting playoffs in sports. New customers can bet $5 on any team to win and get $100 in free bets no matter what, win or lose. Looking to turn a small bet into a big payday during the playoffs? With DraftKings same-game parlays, you can do just that. Create your own parlay by combining multiple bets, like which team will win, how many goals will be scored, and more. It's your shot at an even bigger payout. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now using promo code THPN. Bet $5 on any team to win and get $100 in free bets no matter what. That's code THPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply.
I mean, that was the next point that I was going to bring up, which was you've got, so conversely, you're Tampa Bay.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got the Colorado Avalanche pushing the pace. Does Tampa Bay basically turn into the New York Islanders?
Yep. Yes.
Where they just protect,
Yep.
rely on their excellent goaltending,
Yep.
and try to take advantage of whatever little mistakes are, whatever breadcrumbs are left for them.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes, I think they do. Yeah. Yeah. This series, and I wrote this yesterday on kencampbell.substack.com because you didn't plug me at all.
That's right.
I wrote yesterday that this series to me has a 1983 Edmonton Oilers, New York Islanders vibe to it.
Yeah.
A team that's an upstart offensive juggernaut team facing a fading dynasty that is not ready to let go yet.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why that series went the way it did in 1983 was Billy Smith was off the charts good.
Right.
They got outshot.
Real jerk, though.
Oh, yeah. No, you know what, though? As a person, no, not a jerk at all.
I was just trying to do the
guy.
Norm Macdonald joke.
Oh, okay.
You know? This guy was a real jerk. Yeah.
But on the ice, jerk. Off the ice, really nice guy. But anyways, but the Oilers outshot the Islanders every game, all 4 games.
Yeah.
Lost all 4 games. Wayne Gretzky had 0 goals. Mark Messier had 1 goal. Glenn Anderson had 1 goal. Yari Curry had 3 goals.
Yeah.
And Dave Semenko had 1 goal. Dave Semenko outscored Wayne Gretzky in that series. And the
just as we all predicted would be the case.
And the Oilers went into that final. They had scored 424 regular season goals.
Wow.
Which to that point was the highest any team had ever scored in the history of the NHL.
Right.
Twice more, they got more.
Yeah.
So it actually was the 3rd highest number of goals. They got 6 goals. 6 goals in that Stanley Cup final. Because, as we know, defense wins championships.
I heard a story about that series. It might have been that series. It might have been a different series. I think it was that series though, where essentially, after the Oilers,
I know exactly what you're going to say.
You want to tell the story? You'll probably tell it better.
Well, where they were watching the Islanders go by their room, after they won the Stanley Cup, and they weren't even like cheering. They were so tired.
Oh no.
Oh, okay. They were so tired and beat up. They weren't even super excited about it. And
basically.
Gretzky goes, well, we just walked away from that series like with nothing. And that was the moment in time, at least if if you believe the lore.
Yeah.
That's the moment in time that the Edmonton Oilers became a championship team.
So I heard the story a little bit different.
Okay.
Which is that, the Oilers were in their change room going, but this guy's, got a hurt hand and this guy's got that.
Yeah.
There's kind of, it was, it wasn't excuses, but it was excuses kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And then they walked past the Islanders dressing room and just saw the amount of tape on those guys' bodies, just holding them together with glue
exactly.
and
like
daily wire.
Ken Morrow's body parts were falling off.
And then they went, so they were
so
as hurt, if not more hurt than us, and still found a way to play that way. And so that's the way that I heard the story.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? They're probably, who knows? Maybe neither of them is true, but they're both.
Turns out the change rooms weren't even in the same building. Okay, they flew home right after the game without showering.
Well, it's like 1972. Phil Esposito's big stirring speech after Game 4.
Right. Yeah.
And everybody talks about
rallied the men.
Everybody talks about how that turned around the series, and then you talk to people after, and it's like, we didn't even see it.
Yeah.
Like all of Canada saw it on TV, but we didn't even see it. So anyways, but I mean, the story has been told in both of those iterations several times, so they're probably both true.
Yeah. They walked past the room twice. I think this is going to be a fantastic series. I mean, gosh, I just said it. That means it's going to be terrible. But
you know what? Like the Battle of Alberta was great. The Western Conference Final, the 4 games were really good.
Yeah, but maybe we need to just stop hyping these series up and just allow them for what they are.
No, that's what we do.
Okay.
That's what we do. We hype.
So
no, they were good. They should have been longer though. That's the only thing. Like they were in isolation. The games were really good.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well,
I thought most of them were really good games. Whereas you look at Tampa and New York, and it's like, it wasn't really super compelling.
You know what's funny?
But you know what? They're still playing.
That was
Tampa's
one of the more
playing.
interesting series to me.
I mean, if you appreciate
goaltender battles.
Oh yeah, that.
Yeah. And right here.
Yeah. No, but also if you appreciate the minutia of the game and the digging in and all that stuff like that, that was pretty good.
I actually thought that what I was thinking about was how a lot of the series that I thought were not going to be good turned out to be like the better series in this playoffs.
Yeah.
Such as the Tampa New York series. What was the round one? Oh, the Washington Florida series.
Yep.
Where I was just like, Florida's just going to sweep them. Like I didn't even watch the first 2 games until it was like, okay, this is actually a real series now. I better start watching this, right? A lot of those series are the ones that surprised me as being quite excellent series, and then the ones that we thought were going to be excellent turned out to be sort of.
We haven't had a shit ton of upsets, have we, in these playoffs?
I mean, New York upset basically every team that they played.
Not really. They didn't upset Pittsburgh. They finished higher than Pittsburgh in the standings.
Yeah, but who really thought that New York was going to beat Pittsburgh?
I did. I picked them. I'm 12 for 14, by the way. 12 for 14, and those damn Carolina Hurricanes have scuttled me on both of my picks. I don't know what I was thinking in the first round when I picked Boston to beat Carolina. I don't I'm sitting there and I'm going, you idiot, what were you thinking? And then I picked Carolina to beat the Rangers, and those are the 2 that I've gotten wrong.
The Carolina Hurricanes are an enigma wrapped in a mystery.
They really are.
Yeah. So, all right, let's wrap this. Let's wrap this up.
Well, no. There's a couple of more things we need to talk about.
Go for it.
With respect to this final. Officiating. Huge, in my opinion, is going to, if it plays out the way I think it's going to play out.
Yeah.
Huge advantage for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Huge.
Right.
They've named the 5 officials. Gord Dwyer, Kelly Sutherland, Wes McCauley, Johnny Bear, and Gordy Dwyer. Did I say Gordy Dwyer already?
No, I don't think
Anyways, those 5 guys. They're the same 5 guys. Except for Johnny Bear, who hasn't refereed in a Stanley Cup final and probably will be the extra official in all the games.
Right.
These guys are the guys who have done it every year. Those 4 guys, with the exception of Johnny Bear, average 48 years old and have been around forever, have 22 Stanley Cup finals among them.
Yeah.
And we know what they are. They're the epitome of, this is the way the league wants the game played. Let them play, which is a euphemism for don't call half the stuff that you see.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Huge advantage for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Massive advantage. First of all, it keeps a power play that's clicking at 31% off the ice.
Right.
As much as it should, more than it should be.
Yeah.
And as you play that way and you're more successful that way and they're not calling it, it emboldens you even more to play that way. I've
definitely started to come around to the idea with the Tampa Bay Lightning of don't hate the player, hate the game.
Yeah.
Where I'm kind of like, man, they're a dirty team.
They really are.
They're a really dirty team.
Well, they're a sneaky, dirty team, and they get away with it.
Is it sneaky anymore?
Yeah, it's not even sneaky anymore.
It's like it's kind of like it was sneaky 3 years ago.
Like when Corey Perry's fallen into the goalie, is anybody giving him the benefit of the doubt anymore? Anybody?
Yeah.
But anyways, I think that if it plays out the way I think it's going to, and I see no reason to think it won't.
Right.
That's a huge advantage for Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
I think Tampa
knows exactly where the line is.
Yeah.
And knows exactly how to cross the line.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? And even if it means they got to kill an extra penalty or two, I think they're okay with that.
Yeah.
I think another thing, like I agonized over who was going to win this series.
Yeah.
And now the more I think about it, the more I'm like, how could I not pick Tampa Bay?
Right.
Tampa right now has an elite shutdown center in Anthony Cirelli.
Yes.
Who has 1 goal.
Yes.
Alex Killorn has none, I think.
I don't think he does.
And Hagel's done whatever Hagel's doing, right?
Yeah.
The Tampa Bay Lightning could not care less if that line doesn't score 1 goal in this series.
Yeah.
But Anthony Cirelli will be that elite shutdown guy who has already gone head to head with Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner.
Yeah.
Barkov, Huberto.
Right.
And lately, the Panarin Zibanejad. Right. And shut them all down.
Yeah.
Shut them all down to a certain extent. Right. And like, to me, like, you can't give the Conn Smythe to Anthony Cirelli. He's got 1 goal.
Right.
I mean, it would be embarrassing, I would think. But the only thing that's keeping him from getting Conn Smythe love would be, if he maybe had 7 or 8 points right now and not 3 or whatever it is that he has. And if he had 4 goals right now, like in 2007, when Anaheim won the Stanley Cup, Sammy Paulson had 6 goals and 12 points.
Right.
But he was their shutdown guy. And it was very close, I think, between him and Scott Niedermayer for the Conn Smythe.
Yeah.
Because he was that good defensively.
Right.
And we're seeing that with Anthony Cirelli. He's been that good defensively. And I just think that he's really going to be up to the task here.
Okay, so like looking at kind of this idea of a defensive center winning the Conn Smythe, if Montreal was to somehow pull out a win last year in the playoffs, don't you think that the Conn Smythe votes would be split between Carey Price and Phil Deneau?
No, I think Carey Price would have won it going away.
I think he would have won it.
I think he would have won it going away, but Phil Deneau would have gotten some support for sure.
So
I feel like Carey Price would have been like first on everybody's ballot, and Phil Deneau would have been second on everybody's ballot.
Right, but I think that has a lot to do not just with the fact that he had an otherworldly playoff performance, but also the fact that there's so much respect for him that people want to give him that due. But anyways, so I'm just saying, I don't think that it's crazy to think that a defensive center should be.
Yeah, I think, and this is another reason why I'm liking Tampa is I think there's a real sort of Steven Stamkos renaissance taking place right now.
Right.
Like he's, I would argue, and I'm actually going to write this today, I would argue that Steven Stamkos start to finish this year has not had a better year as an NHL player, a better season. He scored 60 goals. He scored 51 goals. We know that he's won 2 Rocket Richard trophies.
Yeah.
But this year, what he did for the Tampa Bay Lightning, driving play, Kucherov and Point, he carried them when Kucherov and Point were out of the lineup early in the season. He's got 9 playoff goals.
Yeah.
He, that game 6 against the Rangers, like he was just like, I got to step up.
Yeah.
He scores, takes a shitty penalty. Takes a kind of a garbagey penalty.
It's your podcast.
And then they score, and then he gets out and like 14 seconds later scores again to put them ahead in the game.
Yeah.
He just was like, I feel like Steven Stamkos right now knows that this could be his legacy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like 2 years ago, he can change the complexion of the Stanley Cup final in one shift.
Right.
But it was his only shift
right,
of the playoffs, right? Last year, he was pretty good. He was good. But
he was fine.
But Kucherov was out of his mind.
Yeah.
Point was out of his mind. This year, I feel like
the third line was the story of last year's.
This year, I feel like even though Kucherov's got a bunch of points, like he's got 22.
Yeah.
Be interesting to see if Connor McDavid wins a playoff scoring championship this year, eh? I mean, he's 10 points ahead of anybody else.
Yeah.
But even though Kucherov's got a bunch of points, I just feel like Stamkos is like, I feel like this is the first time that Stamkos is like, that's the C right there. And I'm wearing it for a reason. And I'm carrying this team. You know?
This is his playoffs.
Well,
like truthfully, because like you said, first year, first cup.
Yeah.
Come on. I mean, like, yes, you're right. His goal changed the complexion of it, but like, you know what I mean? Like it really is largely, you know, his name on the cup. There's an asterisk there. Second cup, again, he played just fine, but he played about as fine as he had to. And it really was just fine, right?
Yeah.
And this is the chance. Point has been injured.
Yeah.
Right? Point has been injured. Point was injured in the year. He had to step up.
Yeah.
Point is injured now. He has to step up.
Yep.
He has been relegated for the last several years of his career as a winger that we can trot out to score a few goals.
He was a left winger. He was moved to the left wing.
And now
he might not even been their best left winger at the time.
I guarantee you he wasn't for a long time, right?
Yeah.
So, and now to your point, this is his chance to score, to win this cup.
Yeah.
It's almost like there's all, you know, hockey is such like the ultimate team sport, right? It's almost like there's like this, you won me the last two, let me win you this one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And I feel
this
like
love letter back.
I feel like a lot of this goes back to the Olympics. Like 2010, he should have been picked and wasn't.
Yeah.
And it was ridiculous that he wasn't. 2014, he's hurt.
Injured. Yeah.
2018, the NHL doesn't go, and don't get me started on that.
Yeah.
So he's like sitting there going, okay, this is my chance to play for this team. The guy who coaches me is the coach of the team. So he's going to see every night what I'm doing.
Worked out so well for Marty St. Louis.
yeah, true. But that was a GM.
I know that was a GM, which is worse. Yeah. To be honest.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, like he's auditioning every night.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of the season, he was a beast. And I think a lot of it had to do with him going, this is it. This is my chance to play in the Olympics.
Yeah.
And I got to take the chance here, and I've got to really showcase myself.
Yeah.
And he did it, and would have been on that team, no question.
Yeah.
If not for another time getting robbed. Like 4 times he's been robbed of chances to play in the Olympics.
It's so funny because we always talk about the best player to not win a Stanley Cup, and he might now go down as the best player to not win
a gold medal. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. All right. Do you want to move on?
I'm just trying to think of anything else, any other wisdom that I need to impart on you.
Let me
this series.
Let me drop one. Jeff Merrick was saying on their podcast 32
Oh,
Thoughts.
He's a bonehead.
I'll shoot him a message and let him know.
Okay.
He was saying that this is the hardest Stanley Cup final that the Tampa Bay Lightning will have had to face. All due respect, he said, to the Montreal Canadiens and the Dallas Stars.
No. See, that's one of those ones where you don't even say all due respect to the Montreal Canadiens. The Dallas Stars, maybe, but the Montreal Canadiens, no.
They were both a gentleman's sweep.
Yep.
So I'd say no due respect to either.
Well, I mean, but it was 6 against Dallas. Dallas took game 1.
Oh, that's right.
Dallas took game 1. Dallas took game 1 in overtime. And then Tampa won 3, and then Dallas pulled it out, game 6 or game 5, extended to game 6, and then it was over.
My favorite thing that Dominic Ducharme did in the playoffs last year was Andrei Vasilevsky completely stole a game. Montreal came out firing. I think it was game 2. Montreal just came out firing on all cylinders, every puck at the net. Excellent scoring opportunities. Vasilevsky was up to the task. And then Dominic Ducharme, he sat down, he thought about it, and he thought, well, that didn't work. So maybe if we don't shoot on him, it would be better. And then they lost the series.
Yep.
So anyways, but that's what Merrick said. And you kind of jumped to my point, which was you're right. Like, no due respect. Like this team is so much better than any of the other teams that they've had to face in the Stanley Cup final that it's
and
just,
in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Like, yeah, in this year's Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yeah, I don't know, man. You think that they're that, like, I mean, they swept the President's Trophy winner.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, if you want to go by points, by team points, they're the President's Trophy winner.
Yep.
If you want to go by roster construction, the Florida Panthers are as good as any other team.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can see them winning the Stanley Cup with that roster.
True.
So, yeah, I don't know that I
feel like
but Colorado is definitely firing on all cylinders, whereas Florida clearly wasn't.
Right. And I feel like there's no disputing the fact that Tampa Bay is the second best team in this series.
I think you're right.
I really do. Like roster construction on paper, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I think you can say that Tampa's the second best team in the series, but I think they're going to win. I think they're going to win. Yeah. I think that John Cooper and his staff have done an extremely, like a great team building job with this team. Yeah. You know, especially after getting swept in 2019.
Yeah.
You know, accountability, the whole thing. And what they're really good at is what John Cooper's really good at is creating a narrative that brings everybody together.
Right.
Okay. So in 2020, it was pretty easy, you know?
Right.
Yeah. We were embarrassed last year.
Yeah.
We're better than that.
Yeah.
Let's prove it.
Yeah.
Last year, it was like, this is like the, you know, senior year of high school. We're all going different ways after this year. Not all of us, but we're not going to be able to keep this group together. And they weren't. And now it's more
the
like
American graffiti year.
Yeah, exactly. And now it's more about
you go to the sock hop.
And now it's more about legacy, and it's about winning another Stanley Cup for Corey Perry and winning for Pierre-Edouard Bellemare and you know some of those other guys and Nick Paul and Andrew Cogliano and guys like that.
Yeah.
So that's what it's about this time.
Yeah.
And I feel like they've been able to create those narratives and create those situations a lot better than a lot of other teams. And they sort of take control of the narrative and they have that story. Yeah. And I think that really galvanizes them.
Right.
And I think that, you know, because when you look at it, this would be a dynasty. If they were able to win, like this would cement them as a dynasty.
I mean, they already are a dynasty.
Yeah, you can argue whether they are or whether they aren't at this point.
Yeah.
But this would cement it because, I mean, teams have won 4 times, teams have won 5 times. There have only been, in the history of the NHL, 3 franchises that have won 3 straight Stanley Cups.
Right.
Toronto in the 40s and the 60s.
Yeah.
Montreal in the 50s and the 70s.
Yeah.
And the Islanders in the 80s.
Right.
They're the only 3 franchises that have won 3 straight Stanley Cups. Pittsburgh didn't do it. Yeah. They've won 2 straight. Philadelphia didn't do it. They won 2 straight.
Detroit.
You know, Detroit, in the 50s, Detroit won 3 and 4. They won 51, 52. Montreal won 53. They won 54. And then Montreal went on their run.
Did you know that Gordie Howe started as a goalie?
Did he really?
I was just listening to it on Under the Influence with Terry O'Reilly.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a good show.
It's a great show. They've got a podcast.
Yeah. Oh, I don't believe that he started as a goalie. He might have. I don't know.
That's what Terry O'Reilly said.
Yeah, well, Terry O'Reilly's a know-nothing. Anyways.
He tends to be a smart fella.
And it's not the Terry O'Reilly that used to play in the NHL.
No.
Anyways, Detroit should have won 3 straight. There should have been times when Detroit should have won 3 straight. One was in the 50s, and one was when they won in 2007. No, because they won 8 and then lost in 9. So they only would have won 2 then. Yeah. But what I'm saying is that this is truly, like, there is no disputing that if the Tampa Bay Lightning win this Stanley Cup, they are a dynasty. Yeah. They are. You may regard them as a dynasty already, but there is absolutely no disputing it if they win this time. And I think, like, back to the Steven Stamkos thing, he's in the Hall of Fame. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. But he wins a Conn Smythe trophy. He's the guy. He's the driver of this. This, like, cements it.
I can't wait to hear what Kucherov says when Stamkos wins the Conn Smythe.
That's number one bullshit. That's what he'll say. That's number one bullshit. I should have won.
or Vasilevsky was.
Yeah. But Vasi's kind of he's had his moments of not greatness.
Yeah, but I mean, like, here's what I say about bad goaltending. You can only lose a game once. So if you're going to be bad in a game, then just be bad in the game.
Yeah.
And then come back in the next game and be excellent, which is what he's done.
Which is what he does, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I mean, like, we see that with every good goaltending performance, right? When you think about some of the great playoff goaltending performances, you think about like Halak 2010.
Yeah.
He wasn't great in every game.
No.
Completely stank in some of them.
Right.
But then he came back the next game and he couldn't get scored on.
Yeah, I mean, and like no team epitomized that more than the Pittsburgh Penguins in 2016, 2017.
With Matt Murray.
Yeah, and Marc-Andre Fleury.
And Marc-Andre
Fleury. 2017, Marc-Andre Fleury. In fact, I suggested it, and the league ended up putting something out to all the writers saying you can't vote for a tie, because I thought that in 2017, Marc-Andre Fleury and Matt Murray should have been co-winners of the Conn Smythe Trophy.
Right.
Marc-Andre Fleury for getting them through the first two rounds, and Matt Murray for getting them through the final two rounds. Right. But Matt Murray in those years, like, he'd be brilliant one game, and then he'd stink in the next game.
Right.
Like stink.
Yeah.
And
but I mean, even Dominic Hasek was known for that as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In the playoffs, he'd be brilliant one game and then just let in 12 the next game.
12.
Back in the days.
Yeah.
And so it's just, so to say, I guess my point is that, we're measuring Vasilevsky against what we're used to seeing from Vasilevsky, which is that a bad game is like one goal that wasn't even a bad goal, but was maybe a questionable goal. Right, we're measuring Vasilevsky against what we're used to seeing against Vasilevsky.
Yeah.
If we measure him against the great goaltending performances that we've seen in the last 30 years in the NHL, it's still a really good one. It's still up there.
How many guys on Tampa Bay Lightning are going to be Hall of Famers? We know Vasilevsky's going to be in. We know Victor Hedman's going to be in. We know Steven Stamkos is going to be in.
We know Kucherov is.
We know Kucherov's almost positive to be in, and Corey Perry's going to be in. I think. I mean, it's really easy to overlook what this guy's accomplished.
Right,
Corey Perry. I think he's in. Anybody else?
Are we talking about just this year's Tampa Bay Lightning?
Yeah, just this team. Just this team.
Okay, because I was going to say if we go backwards, then we might have to have more people in.
Like whom?
For the last three cups.
Okay. Trying to think of guys that played on that team that would be Hall of Famers.
I'm trying to think of that as well.
I don't know. Five or six guys.
Here's the thing, though, is that some of them still have young careers right now. Like Sergachev could be in. Yeah,
he could. Yep.
I mean, I'm not going to write it out. He's like 23.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's when did Hedman really round into form and be the Hedman that we know and love today?
Right.
It was later on in his career.
Yep.
And so it was like 26 or 27, right? Mm-hmm. Where Hedman all of a sudden became who we know. Right. I think Ryan McDonagh could be in.
That would be a tough sell for me, but
let me say one thing about Ryan McDonagh.
Okay.
He must listen to the podcast.
Oh, okay.
Because I turned around and said, he's a great defensive defenseman, but he's not the most physical. Boy, did he turn on the physicality tap. Holy jeez, he started murdering people.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, so Ryan McDonagh swapped jerseys with Shea Weber, whose knee is somehow fine.
Right. So on Colorado, what do we got for future Hall of Famers? We've got McKinnon, maybe Landeskog. I doubt it.
Rantanen.
We've got not consistent enough, in my opinion.
You don't think
I think Cale Makar is on a Hall of Fame trajectory without question.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
You don't think that Pavel Francouz will be in the Hall of Fame?
He'll be in the. I'm not sure if he's Czech or Slovak. I think he's Czech. He'll be in the Czech Hockey Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're right. There's like two that are probably sure in Makar and McKinnon.
McKinnon, that's it. Those are the only two shoe-ins right now on this team. Yeah.
It's a good point. I mean, dynasty teams have multiple Hall of Famers.
like lots of them.
Yeah.
The only team that I can think of that doesn't have any guys that, well, and even then I might be wrong because Ryan O'Reilly might get in. Actually,
they're not even a dynasty team.
No. I'm just saying even just Stanley Cup winners.
Right. Okay,
like usually you have at least a couple of guys who are going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
That St. Louis team, I'm not sure you're going to have anybody who's going to be in the Hall of Fame. Although Ryan O'Reilly keeps padding his resume, right? So he would be the one guy that I would think might
He's a
be a guy that gets in.
I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, might be a guy that gets in.
Yeah, but Pittsburgh had at least a couple.
Oh, yeah, at least.
Right?
Yeah.
At least 3.
Yeah, Chris Letang, Evgeny Malkin, and Sidney Crosby.
Yeah.
Not to mention...
Fleury might make it.
Yeah, Fleury will get in. Does Phil Kessel get in? Probably not. I don't know.
He would have the counting stats to get in, to be honest. Like if you're just looking at goals and stuff like that.
Well, and longevity and showing up for work every day. I mean, if people are going to talk about Patrick Marleau getting in for showing up for work every day, I mean, then if Patrick Marleau is ever a consideration, Phil Kessel's in. Like he's just in. Like forget it.
So if we ever get Armstrong back on the show, I came up with a question that I was mad at myself for not coming up with at the time.
What?
Because he talked about how funny Phil Kessel is.
Yeah.
I want to hear a Phil Kessel joke.
Okay.
I'm so tired of hearing people talk about how funny Phil Kessel is, and we have no idea why they're saying that or how they're. I'm like, I want to hear a prank or something that Phil Kessel.
No, I
did.
think it's just one of those things where he'll say something and everybody will laugh.
Right. So tell me
because he's like poking fun at himself or whatever.
Well, so tell me that joke.
Somebody said like apparently he's like super like popular with the ladies.
So
and like he'll go like, I don't get it, but it happens.
So like I once. A shot came on. I deflected the shot wide and over the shoulder, which is wide and to the side of the net, which is what you're supposed to do. Guy was standing right behind the net, wasn't wearing his cup, hit him right in the nuts.
Why would you not be wearing your cup?
Hard slap shot, hit him right in the nuts. His name was Phil. So we get in the change room after the game. I'm laughing, but also feeling horrible. Right?
I feel like there's like a one ball joke coming here.
No. So we get in the change room during the game, after the game, and my buddy goes, hey, Dylan, why'd you pull me aside before the game and said, watch me hit Phil in the nuts?
Nice.
So like those little locker room jokes, they do translate.
They do.
I want to hear it. I want to hear what Phil has to say. So anyway, I mean, you're right. They don't, when you look at the Colorado Avalanche, they've got a lot of really good players, much like the St. Louis Blues did when they won the Cup. And still do, for that matter. But, I mean, Kadri, I doubt he's a Hall of Famer.
No.
Right?
Nazem Kadri?
Yeah.
No.
But that's what I'm saying, is that, you know, he would teeter on that cusp of being an excellent player throughout his career.
Right.
Like Rantanen, like Landeskog.
Yeah.
Right? Like probably Bowen Byram by the time all is said and done. Is going to go down as a very, very good defenseman.
Yeah, none of those guys screams Hall of Famer to me. None of them. But they're good. They're good, and they're deep. And their third defense pairing is Eric Johnson and Bowen Byram. And that's all you need to know about how good Colorado is.
Right. So when we started this segment, which is the only segment because we're now an hour in.
Man.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Exactly.
When we started this segment, I was slowly trying to push this like kind of pro Tampa narrative. I was like, doing this like, well, what types of offenses have the Colorado Avalanche faced? And you were like being like the contrarian, pushing back. And at some point, it's like a switch just flicked, and you're just like, I don't think that Colorado's going to win a game.
Yeah. I see no path to victory for the Colorado Avalanche. Yeah, I've been like I said, I've been kind of. I was agonizing over it, but the more I talk about it, and the more I verbalize it, it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you, but this one I'm taking Colorado 100%. You're taking Tampa 100%.
No, I'm not taking them 100%.
Oh, really? You don't want to do it for all the marbles?
You think I'm crazy? No, I'm taking Tampa at like 55%.
Do you hear that Emo Phillips joke? My teacher asked Emo, are you cheating on your test or am I stupid? And he said, well, am I stupid or are you cheating on your test? And he goes, well, yes and no. I always think about that whenever somebody goes like, I'm not crazy, or am I crazy? Or something like that. I go, well, yes and no.
Yeah. Is it just me or? Yeah. So, okay, I'm taking Tampa at 55.
You're taking Tampa at 55. I got to take Colorado at 100%.
Okay.
And then maybe we'll look at the accounting at the end of this and see.
Yeah, but I'm way ahead of you now because I took Tampa at 100% against the Rangers. It didn't look good at the beginning. Wow. I thought, yeah.
There was that moment where I was like, okay, I get that Tampa's good. Shesterkin might pull one more out.
Yeah.
Maybe two.
And he almost did.
He looked really good.
Yeah.
Looked really good. We have had such a treat of goaltending the last 2 years of the playoffs.
Yeah.
Watching Vasilevsky, Price, Hellebuck in the Montreal Winnipeg series, which Hellebuck was not the problem, right?
No.
We watched Vasilevsky, Price, Hellebuck, and now Vasilevsky, Shesterkin.
Yeah. And now Vasilevsky, Francouz.
And that is why the Colorado Avalanche lose.
Not that reason.
Lose.
Oh, nice.
Hey, he's either Zabinabad,
and he turned it around after that.
He played excellent.
I said the Rangers were Zabinabad.
Yeah.
I didn't say he was Zabinabad because he was amazing.
He's been good the whole time.
Yeah, he has.
I wonder what, who was the big piece in that trade? What's his name? The center that New York sent to the Ottawa Senators.
Eric Stepan? I can't even remember who it was.
Anyways, whatever. He was out of the league pretty quick. Or he bounced around pretty quick.
Yeah.
Anyways, can't remember. That's the point, is that they got Zibanejad for it's driving me crazy.
Well, let's look.
Well, before we answer this question, you, the viewers at home, can send us an email at P.O. Box. So, by the way, don't forget, check us out on YouTube. This episode will not be broken up into clips because it is just one long segment. And so you can check out this episode at the Hockey Podcast Network YouTube channel. Check out
Derek Brassard.
Derek Brassard. Yes.
Who is now a member of... Who's he playing for?
He's still kicking around.
I think he's playing... He was with Edmonton. He was with Edmonton this year.
Yeah.
At the end, yeah.
Healthy scratch.
Well, yeah. Played one playoff game.
Check us out on Apple Podcasts. Do leave a review. We've got the most sparse reviews on Apple Podcasts. We've got like one in Switzerland, one in America, one in Sweden. Because we're niche.
I feel like not enough people have like panned that Mika Zibanejad trade more.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like that's like one of the all-time ripoffs.
I mean, it was bad when it happened. And it's only gotten worse.
Yeah.
Like, it was, anyways, I've said what I've said. The Ottawa Senators making a bad trade. I just, why I never.
Who'd have thunk it?
Pierre Dorian, really?
Who'd have thunk it?
Yeah. So anyways, last thoughts on this series?
I'm going to pick Tampa in 7. And for the first time since 1955, Game 7 is going to go to overtime. In the Stanley Cup final.
That would be fun. Yeah.
All right. 55. Yeah. Do you know what happened that year? You don't know what happened.
Of course not. Why would I know that? Why would you know that?
Oh, because I'm a nerd.
Okay, that's fair.
But what happened was, who was it? Pete. It was a role player.
Yeah.
For it wasn't Marty Pavlich. It was somebody else. Dumped the puck in overtime, and Doug Harvey went to bat it with his hand, and it went off his hand and up over the goal, up over, I think it was Charlie Hodge. And that's how Game 7 in overtime was won in the Stanley Cup final in 1955.
Unreal.
Anyways, for the first time, Game 7, Stanley Cup final, overtime, Tampa wins.
The name of the episode, first time since 1955.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thanks so much.
One more thing.
Let's hear it.
Shout out to the Canadian women's under 18 team.
Yes.
Won the World Under 18 Championship in Wisconsin last night. Really interesting dynamic. They lose 2-0 to Finland in their first game.
Right.
They get beat 7-0 by USA in the round robin.
Yeah.
They come back, they win the quarterfinal, they win their semifinal, and then they beat that same USA team 3-2 in the final last night.
Yeah.
6 games.
Yeah.
They had 3 players tied for the goal scoring lead on the team.
Right.
2 goals. Their leading goal scorer had 2 goals.
Defensive juggernaut.
Yeah, but that's not the story. The story is, you know what? Thank goodness they got this tournament in.
Yeah.
Those girls deserved it.
Yeah.
Those players deserved it.
Yeah.
After getting hosed on last year and, and then seeing, the under 18 men play and Connor Bedard coming through and doing all those amazing things.
Yeah.
They needed that. They need that for their development. They need that for the game. And it was really good to see, it was on TSN. Stands were full. It was really good to see. And, Canada was just, they played the Canadian way. Yeah. And they ended up winning, and it was, ended up being a really good story.
Yeah.
So
totally. Thank you so much for reminding me and putting that plug out. And so check out kencampbell.substack.com. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of this episode. Check us out on Apple Podcasts. Check us out on YouTube. And of course, feel free, please leave a review, subscribe, do all the stuff that people on the internet tell you to do.
Right.
All right.